Hello everyone, this is Fantasy-esque and welcome back to Vampire Clan in ClanGen, the Warrior Cats clan generator game. When we left off in the previous episode, our clan refused our ally, the first time we have ever become ally with a vampire clan, an ally help, and that kind of threw us back into a state of neutrality with them because, you know, the one moon where they asked us for assistance, we said no. But I think the leader became a little bit popular within the clan because of his decision to draw the line, especially because in order to help, we would have to give away a resource that we were running really low on and is very crucial for, I think it's yellow cough. But anyways, that aside, we also had about a fleas with Blue Jay, which she's still kind of battling with, and I think also her relationship with Hazelpelt, the Nightstalker, who is, you know, looking after those fleas, has deteriorated a little bit. So there was that. In this episode, the excitement continues in a lot of ways because one of our cats had a very terrifying near miss, guys. A very terrifying near miss. So without further ado, let us dive in and take a look at what everyone is up to. It is currently Moon 28. We're still in Greenleaf. In the Leader's Den, yeah, we have a neutral relationship with Day Clan. We're hostile with Wind Clan and Gossamer Clan. I think we were allies with Day Clan for like one moon, and that's it. Just one moon, where they asked for assistance and we said no. But let's go to events. Dusty Cave was bitten by a snake and miraculously survived. However, because she still has that snake bite, she's still under threat because she could still succumb to this snake bite, which I hope isn't the case because, oh come on, it's Dusty Cave. It's Dusty Cave. She was so strong and against all odds she survived, especially when her sister died. It would be an absolute shame if we suddenly lost Dusty Cave. I would be so upset. That'd be really, really sad. So hopefully she manages to kind of pull herself out of this. And then Firepaw considers as she looks out over the clan if perhaps this isn't where she belongs. Now this kind of took me for a surprise because I think, guys, Firepaw as a daring cat is maybe daring to think of things that no vampire has thought of beforehand. I think as Firepaw gets older and she kind of falls deeper into this, you know, almost competition to get the title of princess, come out on top over her siblings, I think maybe Firepaw is starting to feel as though she does not want to be a vampire. That might not mean she wants to run off and be a vampire hunter, of course not, these are her family members, but I think Firepaw is probably the first vampire we've had that wishes she was absolutely normal, that wishes she was an average cat and she didn't live within this system of the cats constantly fighting with the vampire hunters. Not only that, but fighting these urges, maybe which she feels is growing within herself. Because if I remember correctly, I don't actually I don't know how many moons ago the clan lost fed from a litter of kittens and a queen. But if we look at the dead in the dark forest, how long? It's been 18 moons. Okay, yeah, it's been 18 moons for these guys since they were consumed by the vampires. So this happened before the lifetime of our current fledglings. Because Firepaw and her siblings are 11 moons old, so this is their final moon as fledglings. So I think Firepaw is starting to maybe hear about, she's like feeling these urges, and maybe she's hearing about what these urges mean and what they lead to. And the last time the clan was sated, the last time their thirst for this was sated. And maybe Firepaw doesn't like the idea of consuming kittens and, you know, their mother, like she it's not something that she, I think, feels is something a cat should be doing. So yeah, that's just It's interesting. Something to think about, isn't it? Okay, let's check up on the medicine cat den. Let's see, Dusty Cave with a snake bite. Blue Jay with the unplantain as treatment for fleas. Hazel Pelts gathered goldenrod, raspberry, and rosemary this moon. Also, one of you lovelies. Let me see if I can pull up your name real quick. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Give me a second, guys. Just give me a second while I bumble along over here. Nifty Sky Blue! You told me a fun fact that I didn't even know about. Apparently, because Hazel Pelt has the observing skill, when he goes out during his patrols, he'll notice extra resources and gather them. I wonder if that counts for the medicine den log as well, because I've noticed he tends to find like a lot of things. But that's so fascinating because I had absolutely no clue. I did not know. So thank you so much for that fun fact. In fact, I think Nifty Sky Blue is usually filled with a lot of fun facts, but this one really stuck out to me. So that's like really, really fascinating. Okay, let's go ahead and continue with relationships. Blue Jay and Grandmaster Shivering Star swap secrets with each other. Master Burnleaf says Lightsong sets a bad example of a warrior. Of course, of a Mistwalker. Of course Burnleaf is gonna say that. I feel like I was really hoping that Lightsong would be able to prove Burnleaf wrong about herself, and whatever prejudice he had against her would go away when he saw the progress of his daughter, but I think Burnleaf is unhappy with the example that Lightsong is setting, because maybe he's also noticing this change in Firepaw, that she doesn't really like being a vampire, and he had wished for anything but for her. So he's probably attributing it to the fact that Lightsong maybe isn't the type of mentor that's making Firepaw want to be like her, and for that reason Firepaw is now almost at war with her own identity as a vampire. So that's so sad. Not what I was hoping for. Dusty Cave does something endearing which surprises Burnleaf. Oh, even with that snake bite. Twilight Fade sees a pretty flower in Firepaw's nest. Twilight Fade tried to explain something to Alpaw, but she just didn't understand. Grandmaster Shivering Star and Hazelpelt are assigned the same task. Grandmaster Shivering Star woke a bunch of cats up for morning stretches. They didn't like it. Grandmaster Shivering Star and Master Burnleaf learn a skill from each other that they've been envious about. Okay, that's really good. Dusty Cave does something that makes Lightsong stay a little happier. And then look at that! Even with her snake bite, Dusty Cave is going out of her way to make Lightsong feel better about herself, because I feel as though Burnleaf keeps bearing down on her, and as a cat in power, that probably kind of rubs Lightsong the wrong way, or it's like, it adds a lot of pressure to her to perform. Lightsong, Dusty Cave, and then Burnleaf took a sun bath and had a little small talk. Quiet Flight is still a little hurt by Twilight Fade, but wants to try and make amends. I wonder what that's from, because they usually get along very well. Hazelpelt and Quiet Flight had a fight over if they would take a new mate if one of them died or went missing. Oh guys, do you reckon Twilight Fade maybe found out somehow that Twilight Fade had feelings for her mate Hazelpelt, and maybe she felt a little bit hurt by the fact that he was the one, helping them listen to the whispers, like he was whispering to the two of them to fix their relationship. And in the meantime, he himself was also maybe a little bit, falling in love with Hazelpelt. And maybe she feels a little bit betrayed by that, because she never considered her favorite mentor to be competition, but she realizes that Twilight Fade didn't intend for that to happen, and, maybe the strength of his attraction to Hazelpelt was nowhere near as intense as the love she has with him right now, and I think also she realizes that Twilight Fade never actually tried to pursue anything there beyond his initial admiration, and he was always kind of championing Quiet Flight's relationship with Hazelpelt instead. So I think that's what's happened over there. But then, obviously, because this thought has now been put in her head, maybe she wants some reassurance from Hazelpelt, and they had a fight over, whether or not they would take a new mate if one of them died or went missing. I don't know Hazelpelt's take on that. Maybe Hazelpelt actually, I think Quiet Flight wanted reassurance. Hazelpelt didn't necessarily give her reassurance, reassurance, because I think he got upset by Quiet Flight even bringing up the concept of, her dying and going missing. Because I don't think he wants to think about that. He doesn't even want to entertain that idea in his head. I think especially knowing that in the clan, things like this have happened, right? For example, with Pumpkintail and with Burnleaf, this has happened where, mates haven't gotten to kind of fulfill their love with each other and they have ended up dying. So I think even though it was a long time ago, that possibility scares him and he doesn't even want to consider it. But maybe Quiet Flight took that as, why isn't Hazelpelt reassuring me of his choice? Hazelpelt and Dusty Cave find out they're both bringing flowers to the same clanmate's grave. Again, I wonder if that is Hazelpelt. Sorry, what am I saying? If that is Pumpkintail, who... Pumpkintail was the... Pumpkintail, what am I saying? Pumpkintail. I think it's considered the adoptive parent of the current Apprentices. But yeah, maybe, Dusty Cave and Hazelpelt, they were thinking of her, and so they came to give flowers in their respects. Dusty Cave is letting Alpor share her troubles with her, hoping she'll feel better afterwards. And then Dusty Cave got a bunch of cats out for morning stretches, they didn't like it. Alpor and Master Burnleaf realize they have a similar sense of humor. Oh, look at that. We have some father-daughter bonding. Sunnypaw is talking with his sister Alpor, which is nice to see. And then Firepaw and Bluejay accidentally startle one another. Okay, so an incident between mother and daughter, and that's all we have for events. Let me cut the recording here and we'll continue with the cat list. Okay, let's continue with the cat list. So first up we have loyalties, where there has been a change. So Firepaw has actually joined her brother as one of the loyalists to Grandmaster Shivering Star. I think for Firepaw, this is possibly attached to the realization she's having about not wanting to become a vampire, and it might not make sense initially, but I think what this has made her discover is that being a vampire is a very difficult thing. A clan of vampires is a very difficult thing to manage, and I think Firepaw, despite the many issues that Shivering Star has, possibly admires that Shivering Star even dared to step up and take control of this basically group of uncontrollable cats who, almost were the victims of an incident and transformed against their will into, little monsters, and they have an urge that they are not even wanting to suppress. And so someone had to step up, try and keep them alive, and also give them some sense of order. And whatever we say about Shivering Star, he was the cat to step up and do that for everyone else and work out a system where they can, stay alive. And so I think Firepaw, in realizing the difficulty of her own existence, I think has come to admire the guts that Shivering Star had to take that step. So very, very good, very interesting, and I think a nice way for maybe one of the youngsters to have like a different view of Shivering Star to the, typical one of, oh my goodness, he's always waging war with everyone. But okay, in terms of relationships, I didn't notice anything significant enough for me to mention. So we are just going to go straight to Twilight Fade and have a whispering session between Hazelpelt and Quiet Flight, who I think they've taken, well, I suppose Hazelpelt, I didn't mention this in relationships, but we're covering it now anyways. I mean, Hazelpelt, his love, took a little bit of a hit because of the fight they had, but it's okay. Twilight Fade will smooth things over, guys. See, look at that. So comfort, platonic like, romance has increased, dislike has decreased, and probably this time around the whispering session would include a discussion with Twilight Fade about maybe the confusion that Quiet Flight was feeling over Twilight Fade's role in, them hanging out. And the other thing, I think I mentioned in one of the previous episodes, that it almost feels like between the three of these cats that they probably have developed a bit of a routine about going down into the ruins, listening to the whispers. It's almost like a tea session, and the three of them hang out together and spend time together. Yes, it's also romance time for Hazelpelt and Quiet Flight, but it's almost as though they're hanging out with Twilight Fade as well. So I can see how an activity that is for the three of them would suddenly feel a bit different when Quiet Flight finds out that Twilight Fade, her favorite mentor, who she was spending time with all the time, kind of had some feelings for Hazelpelt. Maybe it caused her to kind of feel a little bit unsure and unstable. Possibly because, Quiet Flight feels as though Twilight Fade is so amazing that maybe Hazelpelt would have returned some of those feelings. Maybe that's where her insecurity momentarily came from. So, okay, we had a good session. Now let's go ahead and see what everyone is doing for the day. Grandmaster Shivering Star is feeling perplexed. Master Burnleaf is doing his best to honor his clan and his leader. Look at that. Good on you, Burnleaf. Even though you are so mean to Lightsong, at least you're nice to everyone else. Hazelpelt is showing off a trinket he found while exploring. Twilight Fade is mediating a small disagreement between two clanmates. Bluejay, I wonder who this is between. It's either between Burnleaf and Lightsong, or Shivering Star and who else? Actually, there's quite a few cats. Shivering Star and Quiet Flight, or Burnleaf, not Burnleaf, I just said that. Between Bluejay and Hazelpelt, or between Quiet Flight and Lightsong. I don't know, there's a few cats he might be doing this between. Bluejay has Firepaw engaged, very engaged in a very, very tall tale. I think Bluejay, as a mother, is trying to do her best to kind of bring Firepaw back into, their fold, and try and maybe tell her, very, very tall tales of maybe past cats who lived within Vampire Clan before Firepaw's lifetime, and their, I think, finer qualities, to try and, I think, anchor Firepaw within the clan and its customs a little bit more, because she can maybe sense that her daughter's slipping away from the rest of them. Quiet Flight saw a kitty pet rolling around a tulip garden. Lightsong wonders how Hazelpelt is doing. Dusty Cave saw a kitty pet with the fluffiest fur imaginable today. And you know what? I like the idea that maybe Lightsong is wondering how Hazelpelt is doing, because he's the Nightstalker, and her good friend Dusty Cave is currently dealing with a snake bite. So maybe she wants to know if everything is going smoothly in the medicine cat den, and that Dusty Cave is getting the best care that she can possibly have. Alpaw asks Quiet Flight for advice on passing an assessment. Oh, look at that. That's so cute. Sunnypaw worries Grandmaster Shivering Star is overworking himself. Okay, so look at that. He's thinking about his mentor. And Firepaw caught the biggest mouse ever. Like, seriously. Firepaw, okay, at least she's enthusiastic about something. Now let's go ahead and see the rankings, because these rankings are going to, we'll check again after patrols just to make sure, but these rankings are going to determine who gets the title of Prince or Princess and who's going to be best of their batch. Look at that! Alpaw! Alpaw is right at the top with 52. Sunnypaw has maintained his position in the middle with 44. Actually, he is tied with Firepaw at 44. So he and Firepaw are tied, but from the looks of things, Alpaw is so far ahead of his siblings that I don't think they're going to be able to catch up, guys. Oh my goodness. I cannot believe that. Our insecure little cat who had, I think, didn't have a disadvantage, didn't have an advantage in terms of her mentor, she has managed to come out on top. She has worked very, very hard to get there, but I think Burnleaf has always made the really wise choices with training Alpaw, because he always used to send Alpaw on the smaller patrols to kind of gain experience from the other cats, whereas with Firepaw and Sunnypaw, their mentors kind of kept them together in the bigger patrols where they were safer, maybe didn't have as much exposure. So she lucked out in that way. Like, her father really knew how to bring out the best in Alpor. Okay, that's very, very nice. But now that we have that sorted, let's cut the recording here and pick up with patrols. Okay, we currently have 33 prey. We need 26.5, so we don't have to worry about food. We'll send out Hazelpelt, our Nightstalker, first off. And now that Nifty Sky Blue, has... Hold on a second, which is the right way? I keep forgetting. Nifty Sky Blue has told me about this observing skill that Hazelpelt has and the extra stuff he picks up. I'm like way more excited about his patrols. Okay, let's have a look. Hazelpelt heads out to find Tansy, scenting the air for its sharp smell, and eyes on the lookout for Tansy's strange, orb-like yellow flowers that Greenleaf has brought out in abundance. Proceed. The yellow dewdrops shining merrily in the distance guide Hazelpelt into the Tansy patch, where he takes a good harvest. It's just unfortunate he can't talk himself out of harvesting some ragwort too. This is going to taste very bad. So Tansy and ragwort were gathered, and now that, I'm thinking about it, I've noticed quite a few times when Hazelpelt goes out, yes, he does gather stuff, but then there's always that little bit within the, not the prompt, but the piece of writing here where it says, oh, he also noticed this extra thing. He brought that as well. He noticed that extra thing. He came across this extra thing. So, interesting. And now we have the final patrols for our apprentices. So we're going to have a patrol of 6 and a patrol of 2. So let's see how they go this time around. Look at that. Okay, so we have Alpor, who is finally getting to go on a patrol with her father Burnleaf as a final one. And Lightsong is sticking very close to Firepaw. And then they have Quiet Flay and Bluejay with them on this patrol. And I suppose Grandmaster Shivering Star has decided to take his apprentice out just on a solo patrol for them to see what little boost he can give to Sunnypaw. So good on them. But let's go ahead and send our group of 6 out. There's a spring in their steps as the cats head out. Today looks like a good day for hunting. Proceed. Not only does Alpor personally catch a terrifying amount of prey, but she offers up support to everyone else to do the same, and the patrol brings a truly awe-inspiring haul home. Look at that, she's constantly outperforming herself, and a huge amount of prey is brought to camp. We now have, oh my goodness, 109.8. Wow. And then we have Sunnypaw and Shivering Star. I wonder if Sunnypaw is finally going to get to shine on a patrol, because he's been invisible throughout his entire fledglinghood. Touring through the territory, Grandmaster Shivering Star spots a thrush and begins to quiz Sunnypaw on what the best strategy is for catching it. Proceed. Sunnypaw tests the wind. He correctly identifies that because of the wind, he'd need to approach the thrush from this side. Grandmaster Shivering Star purrs, complimenting him on how much he's learned. Look at that, I actually think this would be a very good time to reinforce on his final moon that he has made excellent progress and has done very well, especially considering the relationship between Sunnypaw and Shivering Star has been for a lot of this time, strained. So I'm happy. I'm happy. And let's do a final check on the experience. Okay, so Alpor has still managed to stay ahead with 54. Firepaw has 46 and Sunnypaw has 45. So Firepaw just managed to get a leg up at the end, but it wasn't much at all. So we are, in the next episode, going to have our 3 new Mistwalkers, but along with that, Alpor is going to be given the title of the Owl Princess, which is so cool. But once more we have another princess. This is the 4th princess we've had. The 4th princess. But hey, that's cool. Every princess has earned their position in this clan. But okay guys, with that said and done, I'm going to leave off here. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all next time. Bye bye.